Welcome to the next video in our ESSA video series, Vetted Lists. I am Dr. Amy Boza, Director of English Language Arts Standards and Move On When Reading.
As a local control state, schools and districts have the liberty to select curriculum and instructional materials that they feel best meet the needs of their student population. However, Arizona Revised Statute 15704 requires all schools and charters that serve any K through 3rd grade student to adopt an instructional curriculum which meets select criteria. Core programs must be aligned to the ELA standards, must include a scope and sequence and instructional design to provide explicit and systematic instruction in the following essential components of reading, and must meet ESSA evidence requirements in the top 3 tiers: strong, moderate, or promising. Intervention curriculum must also have a well-designed and well-implemented experimental study, quasi-experimental study, or correlational study, which results in a statistically significant positive effect on a relevant outcome. Although Move On When Reading literacy plans only collect information on a school's core Tier 1 instruction, Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention programs, it is understood that schools also use a variety of supplemental materials, which should also meet ESSA requirements.
So why do we focus on the top 3 tiers of ESSA? Well, federal and state legislative expectations require that products and strategies align to the top 3 levels of ESSA. This is especially true for several funding sources, including title funds and various grants. Additionally, the research methodology for each of the top 3 tiers helps make certain that there are standards in place for those research designs. And when reviewing research, even in the top 3 tiers, it's important to consider the outcomes of the research. Having a result with a positive statistical significance gives you confidence that the strategy or product will meet the needs of your students. Previously, schools were able to enter the name of their core program or intervention when completing literacy plans in the Mauer portal. Through this process, inherently, a list of tools was created. This list was not approved or vetted in any way, as it was simply a list of tools commonly used across the state. When we began working with the team at REL West and with our work with LEAs trying to choose new core materials, we realized that this list was not what we needed. The list was not complete, nor was it entirely accurate. So we set forth working to create a list that would show which products met the 3 main criteria of the law. These criteria are: the product teaches the standards, it teaches all of the reading elements, including oral and written language, which includes handwriting and spelling, and meets the ESSA criteria, which we have been covering through this video series. Through our work, we reached out to vendors and had them submit information regarding their program or curriculum. This information was then vetted and reviewed to create the lists that you can find on our websites. The list is not exhaustive, however, and we continually add to it as new resources are shared. It is important to note that these lists that have been created are a guide. They do not say which products or programs or strategies are good or not good, but rather they share which of those products or programs or strategies have met the criteria of the law. The completed lists are to be used as a guide and an added support for LEAs as they make their curricular determinations that are best for their schools and students. You can find our vetted core curriculum list and our vetted intervention and supplemental list on our webpage. Additionally, you can find the links to these sites in the YouTube description below.
Over the past 2 years, we have participated in rigorous ongoing coaching with the WestEd REL West Team. This coaching has included knowledge building on ESSA, ESSA evidence levels, using clearinghouses, how to read studies, exploring the body of evidence for selected programs, the continuous improvement process, and more. We have also taken part in specific targeted practice with these topics, as well as monthly coaching and continued support. With this knowledge, we are able to assist schools with this important process. Here is some insight on how we collected the information for the vetted lists. First, we emailed all vendors that were previously in the Mauer portal, and we requested that they submit a form with their information, including such things as their product title, their website, the publisher name, whether it's a core or intervention program, elements of the science of reading, such as explicit, systematic, multisensory, and multimodal, their ESSA level determination, including studies, etc. Once we received the information from the vendors, we reviewed the collected information. We checked for accuracy in their links to the products and studies, and we reviewed all research for requirements of ESSA. Once we went through that review process, we then created the lists with the information, ordered by color, which will be explained further on in these slides, published and shared on the Mauer for Administrators page, and we do update it periodically if vendors send us new information.
You might be asking yourself, what is the difference between an approved list, such as the Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener list, and a vetted list, such as the curriculum list we are talking about? An approved list is a list that vendors must submit to a formal RFI process to ensure legislative requirements are met. The curriculum list we created during this process is not an approved list, but a vetted list from information vendors provided. Curricular decisions are always based at the LEA level, and schools have always been responsible to make choices based on legislative criteria.
On both the vetted core program list and vetted intervention list, we use the following color coding to assist schools. Programs in green meet all Arizona criteria. Programs in yellow meet some criteria or may be under current additional review. Note that there are new programs currently performing an efficacy study. Programs in red do not currently meet legislation and should not be adopted for use with K-3 students in Arizona. On the intervention list, there is also a selection at the bottom highlighted in blue. These programs have been labeled supplemental by the vendor. They are to be used in conjunction with the Tier 1 program to enhance areas of core curriculum. These are not marketed as standalone programs for targeted Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention, and other choices may be more impactful. Only programs in green on both lists have been populated into the Move On When Reading portal and are available for selections. Schools are not able to add their own tools to the portal.
As we've mentioned throughout this video series, it's important to focus on the continuous improvement cycle. Choosing a new curriculum is part of that cycle, and we hope that using these vetted lists will be a part of that process for you. When considering using these vetted lists, there are some key elements that are important to remember. The first is that this is simply a starting place. It's a reference tool for you to use as you begin your quest for new materials. It's important to remember that our list only shows that the product or tool meets one of the top 3 tiers of ESSA. We haven't delineated which tier, only one of the top 3, as that's what's required by law. Also, when we're considering the evidence provided, we've only linked to one study due to the constraints of Excel. However, you will want to review as many studies as possible related to this intervention or product. Be sure to review video 6 for insight into that. Additionally, even though a product or strategy or curriculum may be on a list, you're going to need to continue to consider your student need. Your students and their specific needs will drive your ultimate selection. Again, be sure you review the other videos and specifically take a look at video 7 for further information. Of course, this list does not mean that the product is good, bad, or ugly. It simply means that it has met the criteria of the legislation. So you will certainly need to ask more questions to determine if it actually meets the needs of your students and staff and your continuous improvement process. And finally, and this cannot be emphasized enough, you need to be a good consumer. Publishers are going to do their best to get their products sold. So they will want to tell you what they think you want to hear or what you want to see. So be sure that you're asking for authentic research, not their advertising materials, and that you're asking relevant questions and asking for relevant information so that you can make smart choices. We hope that these lists help in this process.
Just because a particular resource doesn't appear on either list, this does not mean it isn't approved. It just means information data research hasn't been submitted to ADE for review. If you are currently using a product that does not appear in any color coding category, please send us your vendor's contact information and we will request that they submit information to our team for review. We conduct an ongoing vetting review as new products are developed or reach out to our team. An updated list will be published on our website periodically.
These lists are by no means exhaustive, as we've mentioned before. It is important to note that these are not the only tools available in your quest to approve a curriculum for your campus. There are a great number of other tools available as well. So it is important to research all you can to make certain that the product you are choosing is meeting your needs. Again, our vetted lists from the Maurer team are here to help you understand which products currently meet those 3 components of legislation, which is to teach the standards, teach the elements of reading, including oral and written language, spelling and handwriting, and of course, do they meet ESSA expectations, which is why we are encouraging you to be an ESSA investigator. On the screen, you'll see a list of other places that provide information for reviewing and researching curricular materials. For more information about our vetted lists, please be sure to visit our Move On When Reading homepage. Once you're at this page, you will see a menu to the right. And here you'll want to click the Administrators tab. The Administrators tab provides a wealth of information specifically related to literacy plans, but to general information as well. Be sure to click on the Core Curriculum blue bar or the Intervention blue bar and scroll to the bottom for the most updated lists available.
We are pleased you have continued your learning through the tools and are becoming an ESSA investigator. Our learning will continue as we connect our learning to Arizona legislation and expectations. We hope you will join us for video number 9 to learn more.
Thanks again for joining us. Please reach out should you have any questions or would like more information. See you soon.